Hello and welcome to the very 20th episode of your favorite Stat Check Podcast's host's favorite Stat Check podcast. It's time for episode 20 of Take All Comers with your hosts, Tyler Bortel,
Lucas Troller. Oh, God, where's
and Nicholas and Johnson.
And today is the day of all days because we are finally back, and it's been so long since we did this that Lucas forgot that he needs a microphone in order to record a podcast. It's the kind of high quality content and you want to check out here. For more high quality content like that, check out the War Room. And today, boys, we are breaking down what is going on in this scary world of Warhammer. The World Championships of Warhammer are happening as we speak, coming to you live and fresh on either the 22nd or 23rd of November in the year of our Lord 2024, depending, of course, on which side of the international date line on which you reside. Over here in the 23rd, the boys are back in the 22nd, living in the past as they so often do. And we're going to talk a little bit about Worlds. We're going to talk a little bit about some of this new Eldar releases that are coming out. And we're going to talk about what has been going on in the Pacific Northwest and Spanish Southern Coast in the world of Warhammer. But before we jump into any of that, I got to check in with the boys. How are we doing today, Lucas? Do you have functioning audio, or should I kick it over to Nick? We're kicking it over to Nick. How you doing today, Nick? Congratulations on your promotion.
Awesome. I'm doing well. Trying to figure out what time to record a podcast when half of us live in Spain, half of us live in, or I guess 2/3 of us live in, the west coast of the US is always a good time. So a few hours ago, starting a podcast at 10 p.m. sounded like a great idea. Now I'm quite tired, but I am excited to be here. I'm excited to talk about Warhammer. I had a great day at work today, looking over all of the new Eldar and Guard releases. And honestly, there's actually a lot of really interesting changes coming to the game too. So I'm excited to talk about that with you guys. We haven't actually really had a chance to break that down together yet. And I'm excited to talk about, I don't know. It's an exciting time to play Warhammer. I went to an event recently, got some coming up, and I'm having a good time with the game right now. So, yeah. Is Lucas's microphone working? Apparently not. How are you doing, Tyler?
Evidently not. I'm doing fantastic. Yeah, we've been having a pretty wild time out here in Spain. There's been a whole bunch of natural disasters. There's been flooding in every city except for mine in what is the equivalent of a 30-mile radius or something. It's crazy. But we're doing well here in Madrid. Yeah, I've been being in a tourist lately. My mother was in visiting, which was super nice. We were out in Malaga. We were out in Granada, South Alhambra. It's just a wonderful time. That being said, there's not been a lot of time for Warhammer in that week, and I am itching to get back at it. I've got a big game scheduled tomorrow. I'm going to try to get some more in today as well. And I have been having a ton of fun following Worlds. We're going to talk about some cool armies that are going on over there. But yeah, life is good. How about you, Lucas? Any chance? Any chance at audio? Nope. Great. Well, we're going to jump right on into our first main topic of the day while Lucas tries to figure that out, which is, of course, the wild world of the Warhammer World Championships. So today is, like I said, whether it's Friday or Saturday where you live, today is the end of day 2. We've got days 3 and 4, if I'm not mistaken, still coming down the pipe. And I threw together, where did this Google Sheet go? I threw together a quick Google Sheet to calculate some things up.
Hello.
As far as, oh my gosh, it's Lucas Troller. How you doing, Lucas?
I'm throwing this mic in the garbage can because it failed me one time. That's the only strike you get when you're a piece of technology in my life. You fail me one
there
time.
Was zero user error there.
No, if it doesn't work, it's gone. So, I'm doing okay. It was a very busy week, and but I'm very excited about Warhammer, and I'm playing a ton right now with some armies that I'm not usually playing. So I'm sure we'll talk about that today. So, yeah, let's talk about that. World Championships of Warhammer, baby. Let's go. What you got for us,
yeah, man. Yeah, so Worlds is going on what is happening? Worlds is going on right now in Atlanta. It's a very different showing this year than in the past, right? Like last year was a really big international event. We were really excited to see a bunch of slimy limeys coming across the pond. And French and the Polish and whoever. I don't know actually on Polsky, but a whole bunch of Europeans came over, some Aussies came over. It was really great. This year, it seems like we did not get a repeat of that particular setup. The reviews last year were mixed. People really don't like that we're not playing with clocks over there. They really didn't like the venue. Apparently, it's not in the nicest part of Atlanta. And as much as it was cool to see everyone, we kind of do that at WTC already. And at WTC, people have nothing but positive things to say about, at least while the event is happening. So we saw a pretty significant drop-off. We're mostly looking at American players this year with, a number of Canadians, of course, particularly those from the east coast of Canada, where golden tickets do grow on trees. And so it's a very different tone of the event. And with 4 rounds done, we are cutting to top 16. Now, I'm not sure how all of the shadow rounds went out, so I'm just currently looking at the 15 true undefeated players. We'll have a better idea later on of who is actually in what position. But here is the faction breakdown of our undefeated 15 in right now at Worlds. It is mostly guard players, followed by Marines, followed by Necrons. And then there's a single Votann, a single World Eaters, and a single AdMech by the name of Ricardo Ziegler, who has been kicking tail. Richard Ziegler did defeat, what's Olivier's last name? Olivier, is it Weiss? Is he Olivier Weiss? I don't remember. Olivier Weiss from France, the reigning champion of War Masters and the leading force behind the reigning champion team of WTC, was summarily defeated by Richard Ziegler's AdMech in a great victory for the American people. So we were excited to see that. But it seems like the meta we're living in right now is a guard meta. It's a guard meta, and we're all just living in it. What do you boys think about the current Kings of the Hill in terms of our meta on top, and how does that reflect your local meta in the Northwest?
Well, the first thing I'll say is that there was kind of a lot of hubbub about Guard being the best army in the game leading up to this event, and I haven't been following super closely the last couple of days, so it's interesting to see this data. But I heard some people, I heard basically a bunch of rhetoric about how the Aquila nerf was going to seriously hamper them, and I think this is showing that either there was not enough time for people to because that FAQ came out after people had locked their lists. Is that correct, or was that before? Was it before?
No, it was beforehand.
Okay, so I think one of the major weaknesses of Guard that I've noticed anyway is fast pressure. They've got a lot of blast gun tanks. They got a lot of things that they don't have rerolls to hit. So if you tag their tanks, they're -1 to hit. So I think fast melee can be really punishing for them, and especially with the rapid ingress option to block charges being gone, I think maybe that might be a little bit underexplored. I know in particular right now, just look at this, look at the other factions other than Guard that are on here. We've got Necrons, which are hull-based shooting, Marines, which are often hull-based shooting, we've got Votann, which is hull-based shooting, AdMech, which is hull and infantry-based shooting, and then World Eaters. Guard really preys on that because it can just win the gunfights very easily, and it's got enough it's got enough material as well to score points while it's doing it. Whereas I think into something maybe Blood Angels is a little bit tricky because it's so elite, but into some of the faster armies out there that do a lot of damage and can close the ground quickly, I think Guard might struggle with those a little bit more now. But it's still obviously an incredible army, as these numbers indicate. So I'm curious what the actual composition of these lists looks like, but definitely still a really strong army.
Yeah, I'll comment on that. The AdMech army that Richard Ziegler is playing is also super hull-based shooting. He's running triple Scorpius disintegrators. Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
The tanks, not the gunboats, or the gunboats, not the transports, with the ferrite cannons, and a couple of onagers with neutron lasers. It's just piles of tanks. Crazy to me. There is not a single.
His onagers actually have heavy phosphor blasters, which I was looking at. I was very interesting. They're not anti.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
I went to look at the gun in particular for the gunboats. It didn't even occur to me that the onagers had multiple options.
Yeah.
But two factions that are notably not present here. Genestealer Cult and Sister of Battle have both been continuing to tear it up lately.
I'm confused. Is this data top 16 or undefeated?
This is top 15. I don't know who the 16th player is. They haven't reported the shadow stuff.
Okay, I'm looking at like the BCP right now. Yeah, bracket 1.
Oh, have they updated? So I admittedly did
Round
this before I
5.
went to bed last night. So
Oh, true.
oh,
Yeah,
it's
your
round
morning.
it's round 5. Yeah,
Round 5.
if round 5 is
are
up.
Yes.
Oh, great.
There is one Sisters player and one Custodes player in there, actually.
Okay, wild. Is that Custodes player with the Calladii?
Fulgur Piles, playing Talons of the Emperor. Yeah, double Caladius Grav Tanks.
Yep.
And then, yeah, 15 Wardens, some Sisters, Draxus with Guard, 3 Blade Champs. Very, very standard Custodes stuff. No, what are they? Flying guys?
Venetarii?
Yeah, no Venatari. Yeah. And then there's one Sisters. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Still, though, no Gene Stealer cults after what has been a pretty crazy showing the last couple months out of them, or last couple weeks at least. Bioscientific Root Surge, really strong army being brought by some quality players. Alex Pathopoulos and Alex McDougall having both gone down in the pod stage. Dukes went down to Blood Angels, I think in round 2, after a very sexy Dante command insertion, flipped a game by like 3 points. And Spatho went down to Guard, I believe, in round 4 on Purge the Foe, which is definitely not a mission that army particularly likes. Ben, you're absolutely right. There were 7 GSC players there in total, but and both of the Alexes are running them, I anticipate them doing pretty well. Really quality players on that stuff.
Do you think part of that is because the army is just so swingy, right? Like it sounds like Alex did go down, but he didn't go down like by a lot of points.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in particular, it is fairly weak to Guard played really well, and it also is fairly. It can be swinging on the cult ambush, but also it's really weak to Purge. Being just completely unable to not give up kill more is going to really obliterate your chances there. Yeah, I think that enough people have had success at longer run events at this point that it seems difficult to describe it as being like incapable of going the distance in that way. So we'll see how that shakes out long term, but at the moment, it seems like they weren't able to put things where they needed to go. But yeah, it really does seem like we are in a meta of people running big tanks and people trying to kill big tanks, and it seems like kind of the culmination of the long period trend of 10th of there aren't a lot of infantry that can kill tanks, and that's a really big issue. And particularly with the amount of OC that tanks are getting handed out these days, I'm not entirely surprised to see that when they're a little bit too cheap and you can put a few too many of them on the table, people are going to struggle to exploit some of the traditional weaknesses of a very tank-heavy army, being poor scoring and whatnot. Especially with these Aquilons now being like one of the best scoring and also damage pieces in the game. What do you think, Nick?
A big thing I've noticed in this mission pack too is we went from like 16 secondaries to 18 or something, going from Leviathan to Pariah. And we lost quite a few. We gained a lot more action secondaries. So just like having these cheap holes that can charge you on objectives and be like, hey, I'm OC 3 or 4 on an objective. And also now I tagged your guy who now can't fall back in action. So, oops, you drew sabotage. Got to go do it with like a real unit now or something. And like there's like some access to fallback charge and at charge, fallback and shoot in the game. But just I'm seeing a lot of people just denying people's ability to score by like throwing these like really cheap holes at them.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about what exactly some of these cheap holes are. I think the easiest list in my mind to point at is Mr. Jonathan Lennon, who has been tearing things up with the guard list that he's got. I feel like this list is going to be absolutely everywhere once now that everyone's had a chance to look at it. Let me pull over, share this tab. Is that working? Yeah, great. Lennon's running Lord Solar, Tempestus Scions, Platoon Command Squad, a Tank Commander with Grand Strategist. Also notably, his Scion Command Squad has Karov's Aquila, that's Vect. This is like my least favorite thing in the world, that the Silent Command Squads have the regimental keyword, so you can bring them back with the reinforcement stratagem, and they still have Karov's Aquila, so he gets to deep
with
strike
the
or ingress
back
Karov's Aquila twice. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Anyway, Tank Commander for the Grand Strategist for the... Is that the extra orders? That's not the redeploy yet, because Solar has the redeploy. Anyway, he's got 10, 20, 30 catechins in 10, 20 chimeras, or sorry, 2 chimeras. One squad of catechins will go with Solar and the command squad in the back. 2 of them get into the chimeras and run forward. A singular Hellhound, owned 3 Hydras, which is kind of the new sauce. If you haven't played against Hydras yet, they are the cheapest holes. They are 85 points. And I think they're OC3, which is ridiculous. Hydra. Yeah, they're 85 points for a T9 and 11 wound 3-up save OC3 box that also happens to obliterate anything in the game with the fly keyword. Because their guns are anti-fly 2-up twin linked at 913 72-inch range. We saw a second ago that Necrons are doing really well. These things just eat Necrons for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They go away real fast. And then we've got triple Russ, 2 battle tanks, 1 exterminator, all with multi-melta las cannons, and then the dreaded 20 Aquilons and that 10-man Scion on brick. What do you guys think? Is this the new meta we're looking at right here? Is this the new thing to beat?
I think the one thing that's really unique about John's list and really speaks to the strength of guard is just like how much in there is really viable, right? Like locally up here in the Northwest, people are playing Dorns, and there's not a ton of guard up here, but like our local guard guys playing tons of Dorns, and I can speak from experience that they are very, very good. Like the resilience is really great. This plethora of spawns and weapons is really great. The blank makes it just incredibly tough in some of those like hull shooting matchups. But then, obviously everyone's also talking about the tank commander, also an incredible tank. And then John only has, 1 tank commander, and he's mostly taking the standard Rust chassis. So, I mean, it's a very interesting list, and one that I think really tries to abuse like the AP stacking in particular, which, in these hull v hull type of shootouts, it can be really nice to have multiple different sources of +1 AP. Like if he really wants to, he can Fields of Fire against one target, kill it with a battle tank, and then he can use the Exterminator against another one, or he can combo it onto one target just to nuke something big. So that's really nice. I do think it's a little bit weak. They're like the majority of the damage in this army doesn't rely, but it really enjoys shooting at targets on objectives. So there's a little bit of play around there. Like the big Scion squad gets much worse when it's not shooting onto an objective. The 2 Lehman Russ battle tanks get much worse when they're not shooting onto an objective. And the demo cannon guy is very short range. So there's a little bit of play around there, but overall, the number of hulls is just ridiculous, right? Like 3 battle tanks, 1 tank commander, 2 chimeras makes 6, 3 hydras makes 9. So it's got 9 chimera okay, so it's got 10 chimera plus tier hulls that all just like hang out, which is a little bit ridiculous. But yeah. It's a well put together list. I think in particular the points difference at this point between like the exterminators and the battle tanks, like those are 170, and scroll up to the tank commander. I think they're like 230 now, right? Like you're buying an entire extra squad of guardsmen for the price 240. Oh, that's
with the enhancement, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can buy a tank commander, or you can buy a battle tank and a squad of guardsmen. And that's a genuine trade-off. And I like that Lennon is God for the less popular option here. I think it's a good choice.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that we're fitting 10 holes. What is it? 60 dudes, 30 catechins, 10 scions, 20 aquilons, 60 dudes, and 10 tanks. And
one of those dudes gets to come back.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really 70 dudes or 65 or whatever.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Very cool.
Every time I'm looking at guard, I feel like they have like 4 more units, or 3 more units than I expect them to. I get that they're the Horde faction, and I do appreciate this playstyle way more than the like I sit in my DC and roll dice at you from behind walls. This is like way more engaging. And I think this list is very strong, and like the reason why it's very strong is just like what Lucas is saying. It's putting 10 just cheap holes, and it's just bogging you down and shit, and like it's making it not impossible, very hard for you to score points, right? Very hard for you to score your primary, very hard for you to score your secondaries when your stuff is like being walled off / tagged all the time. But like I don't think this army is anywhere near the level of some of like the more insane stuff we've seen in this edition, you know.
Totally.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's just good. It's just good at playing the game, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you had any other comments on this in particular, Tyler,
Nope.
feel free to go ahead, because I wanted to kind of compare this to another army that I think is notably absent from the top 16 that we just showed a few minutes ago, and that is
Totally.
Sisters. I feel like a lot of the discourse since the nerf was Sisters were fucking stupid, Omega broken, Droolers could win with this army, and then they got nerfed a whole bunch of points, and everyone went, they're still insanely broken. The list just got better. Wow, they are so broken. Okay, well, Sisters isn't present in the top 16. And
No,
like,
they
They
are.
are.
One
Nick was
Sisters.
right. There's one of them. That's a
one?
mistake on my part. They
Yeah.
made it out of the shadow. I think this guy
It
has
is,
drawn.
it is actually very interesting though. If
and
you
it's
want to pull
Hallowed
it up.
Martyrs.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not Bringers of Flame. So it's not like the copy paste, Bringers of Flame list that everyone.
Let's run this all the way
It's
down,
fine,
because I think that's
it's
very
appropriate.
interesting.
Cool.
Double
We got a pair of
Canoness. We've got a Canoness with jump back, Junith, who gives extra CP, Morven Vol, Palatine, Saint Celestine. Let's go. 2 squads of 10 Battle Sisters, 2 Immolators, 2 Castigators with autocannons,
autocannons.
5 Sacrosancts, who are pretty cool actually, 3 War Suits, 2 Solo Engines, and a Calidus. So notably missing are the Exorcists. And I think this was something that everyone kind of freaked out about, because every time, an indirect piece is very strong, or the perception is that it's strong, everyone kind of throws a fit over it. And I think Exorcists have some very clear weaknesses that people are just like, we're not acknowledging for the first little while. And when comparing like Sisters to Guard, which are 2 very, very comparable hull-based shooting lists, you can really see the difference between them. A list like this Sisters list has way more trash in it to go and score points and actually skirmish with the opponent. Whereas the traditional Bringers of Flame list really, really struggles to skirmish with the opponent, because most people, if they're like cutting to fit the ideal indirect package in with 3 Exorcists and a Triumph, like you have nothing else in your fucking list once you've done that, right? Like you're down to 1 or 2 Immolators with some Dominions in them. Really smart players will focus those assets early and force you to play the game with tanks, which is really not what you want to do. This list, by contrast, is a lot of trash. It looks a lot like John's list, to be honest, in terms of like just the quantity of units that he's putting on the table. Obviously, not quite as many tanks. It's not that ridiculous, but like, look how many solo characters he has in here, all of which can stand back up and all of which can use Miracle Dice. Like, there's so many little tricks he can do in here. It's so much better than just like, no, sorry, not so much better, but it's a completely different take than the whole spam archetype. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think this is the first seriously competitive Sisters list that I have seen that did not have the Triumph in it. Like every single Little Sisters player that I've been following closely has said, you know what, the Triumph is expensive, but you got to do it. You got to pay the piper. You got to spend 1/5 of your army on this one model who sits in the back and buffs some things.
Do you have to do that? I don't think you have to do that.
It turns out you don't.
Crazy.
So without +2 move and without Outbringers of Flame advancing, we're just playing really good, solid 40k here, moving these holes around. Isaac is joining us, says, want to know something funny? The Sisters list won the tiebreaker, short 390. They forgot Vol was in the reserves until turn 4. That is the shadow round for you, if I've ever heard of it. My gosh. But yeah, so shout out to who was this running this list here? This is go back. Oh, it's a Frenchie. Jean-Luc Renin. Congratulations to that individual for cracking the king in the code and not wasting 400 points. Very cool. So yeah, it was almost like he had the Triumph in the semis though. That's kind of funny. Yeah. Any other lists you guys wanted to look at from this top cut?
Oh, there's some cool ones.
Mhm.
Are we gonna keep talking about this or move on to other stuff after?
The Votann and the World
Yeah.
Eaters.
Yeah, let's talk about that stuff, I guess.
I had a suspicion.
Should we go Votann first?
Let's do it.
Tim
Schneider.
Schneider, from Germany. Yeah, I think this is the Team Germany guy, right? Or at least this is the Team Germany list, basically, from WTC. Yeah, I mean, this list is really cool. I'll read it here. We got a Iron Master with a Praising Glare. That's the guy that like runs around and heals vehicles with like 4 little dudes following him around. A Praising Glare is like the pointed objectives for Countess +1 Judgment. 1 champ with an axe. 2 squads of 10 warriors sporting the high las auto rifle and rotary cannon. I like this combo a lot, actually. I think it's probably better than the melee weapons at this point. It's basically within rapid fire range from the auto rifle, which I think is 12. You get like just a decent amount of strength 6 AP one shots that ignore cover because you put the scanner in there. And if you're shooting things with tokens, like you can just kill screens pretty nicely, or just like, you know, you trade up with your little shitty units. The big sauce in this list, kind of the rest of this list comes together here, when he's got 2 Hecaton land fortresses with the what is it? The conversion beamer. That's the 4s explode outside of 12, but like 6s are sustained D3. Inside of those land fortresses are my favorite, favorite unit in Votann at this point, which is the 10-man Chthonian Berserkers. I saw this unit in the German list when we were all like, you know, practicing for WTC. And it's kind of one of those where you go, oh yeah, those guys can go up to 10. Why haven't people done that yet? And this unit is good. I think it's really good. You can fit 10 of them and 1 Einherjar champion in a land fortress. Takes up all 12 of your slots. The unit itself, it's 32 attacks because it has 2 guys with 1 extra attack in there. At 923, with 1 CP stratagem for +1 AP per token. So if you're hitting something with 2 tokens, it's 32 attacks that hit on 3s, wound at strength 9 with +1 to wound, 943. Yeah, this unit just slams stuff super hard. Another very popular unit in the meta right now, not present at this top 16 though, but like Deathwing Knights, very popular, right? You're gonna run into like Dark Angels Gladius, or 8 Archangels list playing Deathwing Knights at your like tournaments. And this unit kills like, I think it's like 3 to 4 Deathwing Knights on average with the stratagem. It's crazy. Because like they can't AOC it, your AP4. And 3 damage minus 1 damage is like great. Every 2 failed saves kills a Deathwing Knight. The unit itself also has 2 of the grenade launchers that on a 4-up are -2 move, advance, and charge to non-monsters and vehicles, which can be, and they ignore LOS. So like you can get these guys out early and like slow stuff down. Or you can engage a unit and slow down something that you don't want coming in to mess with you. It's got 2 squads of 6 spikers. Fantastic. And then 3 Sagittars with the funny scam cannons. And the cool thing about running 3 here is he's able to basically split up all of the warrior units, and 1 gets to start on his home field for sticky, which is very good in the day and age of 3-inch deep strikes, sticky in your home field. So people can't just shoot you and deny your primary. So I think this is a very solid list. It's cool to see him in the top 16.
Big list. I love the 10-man Zerks, man. Those guys hit so hard. You put it very mildly, but I know the whole Votann.
10 Jaegers.
You gotta have the 10 Jaegers, man. Those guys are essential. Nah, yeah, the 10-point increase definitely broke the bank on those guys.
Unplayable.
I know the Votann thing is being stubborn and thick-headed, so let me put it very plainly for you, for the kin out there. Hey, morons, stop taking 5-man Hearthguard. 5 Hearthguard with a character is 10 points more than 10 Berserkers for 20 less attacks with -1 damage. Fucking stop it. The unit sucks.
I think that's the other unit that's popular to run in forts. And it's one of those where it's like, yes, you get a lot more shots with wound rerolls coming out of the fort, because it has the like that transport thing where it's like 1 gun hits a thing, gets full wound rerolls into it with the guys getting out that turn. But like a strength 4 gun, like the strength 5 dev wound guns, you don't really need that when you have this many bikes, right? The bikes clear your screens. The like little shitty guns in the warrior squads up there, those clear screens. The random side guns on the forts, even the mole launchers on berserkers do a lot. So like, I don't really think there's something in the meta right now where you need like D6 blast strength 4 en masse. And so that was the reason to run the Hearthguard. Was there a mixed arms unit? But like, you really need some melee punch, and the Zerkers deliver on that.
Unless everyone in your local is playing Catan, like, just stop it.
Yeah. So I wish good luck to this guy. I hope I would love if he won it all, honestly.
Let's peep that world leaders list, dude.
Yeah, for
That was
sure.
I want to see Corn's chosen.
I thought I had it open. Apparently I did not. Give me just a sec to grab it.
No problemo, sir. I'm so excited.
But yeah, World Eaters make going the distance. We're
Look at
talking
him,
here
sir.
about a gentleman by the name of Brian Doherty from the U.S. of
Let's
A.
go.
Absolutely. What are we rocking here? The Angry Red Gorillas.
Angry Red Gorillas. Let's fucking go. Christ. Okay, I'm excited to look at this 6-unit army. We've got Angron. We've got a Master of Execution, so we're already off on the right start. Lord and Nicotis, Mo with Berserker Glaive. We got 10 Jacks, 10 Jacks, 10 Corn Berserkers. Let's fucking go. 5 Corn Berserkers, just raw dogging it. Let's go. A Rhino, 2 squads of 3 8-bound. We've got 6 and 3 Exalted and 2 Spawn. That is a combination of World Leaders units. I like that.
Ben says
Yeah,
Brian may have lost to. Ben says Brian may have lost to Lennon in the shadow round. He may not have actually made it out of the pod phase here. They seem to have taken down the round 5 pairings.
Yeah.
So I no longer have access to that, which is very annoying. I guess
right.
they've been. If you're listening, GW, I'm very annoyed at you. I should have screenshotted that, I guess. So Brian may or may not actually be making it to the top 16, but he did go 4-0 in pod at Worlds, which is no small feat of its own. Yeah, I agree with your assessment here, Lucas. This is definitely a World Eaters list.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 5 Zerks with no character and no Rhino is a choice. I'm not entirely sure I understand what they're there for.
Also, like
no.
the 400-point Master of Executions 10 Zerker Rhino combo that like can't kill a fucking immolator.
Hey, if Anthony's still playing it, it's got to be worth something.
Anthony's still playing because I built him a goated Master of Executions model. That's why.
It's a very cool model. I love seeing it on the table. But yeah, I also do love seeing that unit in game when I'm like, oh man, yep, that's annoying. They sure are going to fight on death. Anyway, here, have a 200-point unit that kills your 400-point unit. Yeah, not that we've ever had that happen before. But yeah, I don't have. You play World Leaders more than we do, man.
We're kind of being dismissive of this, and to be clear, this is not like trying to come off harshly on this guy's achievement. Like going this many wins in a row with World Leaders is like a pretty significant accomplishment in this meta. I feel like is fairly hostile to an army as elite as this. So really well done. I think our confusion is just like a couple of the units just don't make sense to us or to me personally. But like it's got all the good pieces, so it really speaks to his execution.
Oh, Lucas, you got to hear this. You want to know who this man beat in round 4? 91-51 with the 17-3.
What?
I'll give you a hint. He's a European that you've heard of.
I've heard a
Playing
lot of
T-Suns.
Europeans. Oh no, was it Pumbaa?
No, brother. Puma's not it. WCW is Tercero Rojo.
Oh shit, that's my boy right there.
Put
Actually,
that
that's
man
not
on
my
a
boy.
t-shirt. 51-91 with World Leaders into T-Suns. I thought that was unwinnable. Nice job.
Probably went first, dude. Skill issue.
There's no Breacher Rams in there, dude.
Pro tip, yeah. He beat Sisters in round 3.
I mean, the World Leaders matchup, World Leaders can beat T-Suns if the T-Suns player gets way too aggressive. And that's kind of been my only experience. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or if
He
they
beats the
accidentally
yeah.
or if they're like painting their army the night before and they accidentally like drink the paint water instead of their water bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they forgot
okay,
Magnus at home.
To be fair, dude, I almost when Tanner and I were practicing that matchup, it was pretty close, except for that like stupid Zangor screen, which like people aren't playing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be a little bit better now. But yes, it is definitely World Leaders, or not World Leaders favorite, T-Sun's favorite, because they just doombolt Angron to death and he dies behind a wall and he's sad.
Yeah, I can only comment on Anthony's WTC matrices.
Yeah, no, I mean it's certainly not favored, but there are some small outs, and maybe he just found the line.
Totally, but a small out turning into a 17-3, like what are we talking about here?
I mean, if you get the out, you're like tabling them, right? Like that's what it is.
These are two of the most explosive swingy armies of the game.
Like
so
when Tanner and I were practicing, and he was like, "How punished am I going to be with T-Suns? Like, how aggressively can I play?" And he played a little too aggressively, and I got advanced in charge and +2 move, and I killed like 1,400 points of his army in one turn. And he was like, interesting. Magnus is still alive though with like some stuff. I'm going to kill 1,200 points of your army back. And I'm like, what is happening, dude? And then I tabled it. But like, that was it. It was very silly game, And that was like turn 2, right? So like I had the rest of the game to score points. So maybe that's what happened here. I don't know. Good job to this guy. We'll talk more about World Leaders in a sec, right? Lucas has been experimenting with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure will.
There's one other list that I think we do need to highlight here, which is also actually a guard list, but is an entirely different take on guard. I believe this is Wesley St. Hines, also known as Nemo the Fish in Best Coast Pairings.
Holy shit.
Who put together a very different take. He is not undefeated. He did end up losing. I'm not sure to
Walter,
whom.
I think.
Let me check. Oh yeah, I think he got dwarfed. Which I mean is not surprising given that like Dorf is here to handle these monophase armies. Yeah, he lost 90-99 to Langendorf in round 4. But if Lennon's list isn't the future of guard, this might be. Lucas, you want to break down this guard list real quick?
Oh, that is a wholesome ass title. Let's go, dude. All right, we've got a Cadian command squad with 1 Cadian commander, 1 Plasma Pistol, 1 Power Fist, 1 veteran. Okay, anyway, we've got 2 marshals. I think they give 5 up Feel No Pain to the Death Corps people they join. We got Gaunt's Ghosts for lone op order shenanigans. 3 Militarum Tempestus command squads, the sussy hits. Marbo and Creed. So no funny Leontis man.
No horse boy. Don't need him.
That's cool. We've got 10 shock troopers. We've got 2, 3 by 10 jungle fighters. We've got 2 bricks of 20 Death Corps of Kriegers. We've got 3 units of 10 Scions, and then probably 3 units of 10 Aquilons. Holy shit, he's got 3 by 10 Casterkin as well? Oh my god. Holy shit.
And 3 by 10 Aquilons.
Alright, that's kind of nuts though.
I guess that's what happens when you don't bring any holes, right?
Yes.
You just get to armpit the board with infantry.
You need Leontis because he orders the tanks. But what if you don't have any tanks?
Yeah, I mean, I guess Ursula, I think, still gives out 2 orders. Each of the command squads give out, like, at least 1, as far as I'm aware.
As do the marshals.
Right. So, like, he's still belting out, like, 6, 7 orders, and then...
Right. Every unit that really cares about shooting brings its own orders with them, right? Like the Scions can bring the orders.
Every unit is going to have a +1 to armor save. I think one of the very common tricks that I think is really powerful with this list is you give... Ursula gives both of the Death Corps units move, and then you bring in units from reserve, and they order the Death Corps after they've moved to be +1 save, and that combination is really, really powerful. Because, like, again, most important parts of Horde are durability and mobility, so, like, it's really doubling down on both of those, just kind of, like, via your main army mechanic. I think this list really struggles to kill things, but maybe it's totally fine. that it can't kill a hull in the current meta because it does have 1 gajillion OC, which is a precise mathematical figure. But like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool. I like this list.
Yeah, he apparently, according to some of our mutual friends of his, has been repping the hell out of this. He beat Votann 100-69. And he beat T-Suns 100-35.
Yeah.
Honestly, that makes sense to me.
I see how Seasons struggled to kill all this efficiently.
Yep. And then he iced Sam Pope on his like 60 or 80 Termagant list, which was pretty cool, but like obviously gets hard countered by this. 77-69, so a close game, but not one that Sam said he ever felt like he really had a chance at. And then he does end up going down to Langendorf because it turns out if your only source of damage is gun, getting up at the end of the shooting phase is a bit of a problem.
Yeah, Walter's list is very interesting.
Do you want to talk about it? Because it's pretty sick.
Yeah, I mean, Necrons are pretty well represented in the top 16. And also like just in the meta in general, right? There's still a bit of boogeyman, and I think a lot of the talk is still around Hypercrypt. Like on Hypercrypt is
all of the talk
very strong. You know, uppy downing 3-4 things. Right now, Hypercrypt is very built around like Doomsday Arcs and Monoliths again. Some lists have the Silent King, some don't. It's just a lot of teleporting gun shenanigans and like teleporting cheap secondary guys. So, yep, I think Kit is undefeated. With a like double Monolith, double DVA Silent King list. Nice work to him. But Walter's list is very interesting, and it's playing Awakened, which has kind of gotten like a little bit of press. Honestly, ever since Walter has been like smashing with Awakened over the past few months, I think a lot of people have just been paying attention or like copying, like his lists are filtering down to the meta. Last time when I played against him, he was running big warrior bricks. Now he's running a completely different list. I know he's going down more of this like MSU idea. And yeah, we'll take a look here. He's got a ton of characters. Yeah, I'll go through it. So we got 2 Hexmark Destroyers. These guys are great because they're lone ops, which if you expect to see Exorcists, can just hold stuff and not get LOS. They're also not bad against like 3-inch Deep Strikers. A lot of the 3-inch Deep Strikers like GSC or Accolons are going to be like very squishy units. Hexmarks have a free Overwatch, and they always Overwatch on like 2s. They're not going to like one-shot the unit, but they'll take a few guys out on the way there, which can be nice. Illuminor Xeris, because he's just a fantastic mini Catan that gets to stand back up for a CP in this attachment. Emotech the Stormlord, because he gives you another CP to fuel a lot of the very strong stratagems. He has 3 Locust Lords. These are the, not the Swarpig ones, these are the floating ones. One has the Veil of Darkness. I assume to probably lead a Locust squad. They also give Locusts crit 5s. And I think he's got the Nanoscarab Amulet and all of them. Yeah, gives him a 5 Feel No Pain. Makes him a lot more resilient. He's got an Overlord. So it's going to probably lead like Lich Guard. But I imagine it, and gives him a free strat, which is nice. It has a Resorb, so it can resurrect an additional D6 once a game. Or D6 wounds worth of them. He's got 3 Scorpic Lords. These guys are fantastic. They do charge mortals. They hit really hard. One of them has a 4 Feel No Pain. Yes, he can be resurrected because they're infantry. Yes, he keeps a 4 Feel No Pain when he comes back. And then he's got a Transcendent Catan, which is an interesting choice here. I wonder if that's like for just, you know, teleporting around, scoring secondaries.
He, for a while, he was on the Deceiver. And there was a lot of conversation about whether that was the right call or not, because the Deceiver is the most durable Catan. And also that small base makes it real good at hiding, and it's pretty cheap. At the end of the day, we basically decided that the Transcendence mobility was a little bit more valuable. But yeah, it's not going crazy places. There's plenty of trash units for doing that kind of stuff, but it really allows us holding down primary to be
and also just
a more
get
realistic
to your expansion
piece.
objective immediately, unless they infiltrate onto it. Yeah, which is very strong.
Especially on some of these GW boards where sometimes like Layout 7 was in play for this event. Helps a lot.
Yep. He's got 2 squads of 3 Locust Destroyers. These are the like medium infantry killing gun. 1 squad of Locust Heavies with the Emetic Exterminator. That's like the light infantry gun. It shreds them. a squad of 5 Lich Guard to go with the Overlord to be like a decent durable unit, and then 3 squads of 3 Scorpic Destroyers, which combined with the Scorpic Lords hit incredibly hard on the charge. So yeah, it's very, very light on the ground compared to like the Warrior horde he was playing before. But like obviously he's undefeated with it. He's doing very well with it. I imagine it plays somewhat similarly to the past, where it's like trying to get you to come close and then pounce on you with Scorpex. And it looks like it's really just trying to be like doing its thing. Like I hold my objectives, and like we're gonna be battling over the middle. And it's durable, right? Like you kill a really annoying character, and he goes, all right, 1 CP, that character comes back. And he's always got the CP to do that because of Emotech. So,
yeah. Lucas, I know you had a chance to play into this, didn't you, with Death Guard?
Yeah,
Tell us
exactly.
about that.
I was just about to say, I just played into this list like last week, and I think it's pretty unique and cool. I think the kind of signature move of this list, or signature kind of element to it, is just how hard it is to finish off any of the pieces. Because like, you know, killing the 3 the Scorpex or the 3 Locusts that go with any of the characters isn't in and of itself difficult to do. But the problem is like his first wave is so cheap and so obnoxious. Like this 5 Lich Guard and an Overlord who can resurrect for free. That's really annoying. Okay, it's a Transcendent Catan, which, you know, people aren't necessarily like super gearing up to deal with Catan right now. So that's kind of annoying. And there's just like and then Xeris as well, who stands back up in this detachment. Okay, you finally make your way past that. Killing Locusts and Scorpex is not free, right? Like they're 3 wounds, they're toughness 6, they have a 3-up armor. If you kill them, then the character is still standing there and he heals back to full with resurrection and all that kind of stuff. If you manage to kill the character as well, really burst through the unit, then you stand back up with that character with the strat. Okay, if you didn't even kill the unit in the first place, then he's using a strat to trigger reanimation with Awakened Dynasty and return the unit to full strength basically in his next command phase. So like these units are very, very sticky, and he can find a use for any of those pieces at any point in time, right? Like if, you know, there's multiple times in the game I played against him where, you know, you would kill the 3 Locust Heavies. Okay, well, that Lord is still really annoying. He's still got like a Strength 8, AP3, 2 damage, Dev Wound stick that gets rerolled to hit and wound if you're under half strength. So like he turns into a little, you know, skirmishing piece in and of himself, and then he wanders off and is OC2 on an objective in the later game.
yeah.
All these models are OC2, right? Like Necrons, one of their identities is they have a lot of OC just on random shit for no reason. All of these destroyers are OC2, and that makes kind of like using your trash to flip objectives from them not the easiest thing in the world, especially for an army like Sisters or Marines that has a lot of OC1. You know, 3 Scorpex and a Lord posted up on an objective is 9 OC, because the Lord is 3, I'm pretty sure. It might be 8, but either way, it's just very hard to unseat these units. And then when you do, like, he pounces on you with the other ones. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And the other thing that's cool about it too is since it's a lot of like little units that are slightly more durable than you expect, it's not like you don't quite get to go like the classic Warhammer thing of like, oh, there's 1 unit on the objective. I'll send in my unit and spend a CP to buff them and kill that unit. And now the objective's mine, right? You kind of have to be like, oh, how do I split my attacks to like clear these things? How do I split my shooting to clear these things? And like what you're saying, you might end up like overkilling one, like a bunch, and then leaving the other 2 at half health. And then they go, okay, well, the objective's still mine. And then they heal back up to full, you know?
Yeah. It is very, like, it's very honest. That's a term that's been thrown around a lot recently. You're like, there's no fallback and shoot. There's no fallback and charge. There's one way to advance and shoot. There's no way to advance and charge. Like, it's just kind of like putting dudes on the table. But I think it does that better than the vast majority of detachments in the game right now.
Yeah. And it's cool to see Walter still like innovating with this rather than just settling for like the first draft that was good. I know he's been through a lot of different drafts with this. And I think it's like a detachment that, like, obviously this is like definitely not like looking at it, this is not probably how they intended it to be played, but he has managed to create like a very strong army out of this.
And it's so much sicker than hypercrypt guns.
Yes.
Very cool stuff here. Sweet. So that's kind of a bit of a cyclical there on some of the different lists that are doing really well at Worlds. Of course, you'll be able to follow along on Best Coast Pairing, see how things continue. They do actually seem to be streaming stuff. For a while, it seemed like they weren't, but the normal GW Twitch seems to be operating at full blast. Though they do switch back and forth between 40K and AOS inexplicably. So have fun trying to watch that. Anyway, so we'll see how everything shakes out there. Should be a good time. Best of luck to all those involved, especially our boys who are still in there in John and Walter. Are any of our other boys still alive? I think that's all of our boys. Oh, Kit's still in there. Kit, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Go get him, Kit. And Siegler, obviously Siegler. He's doing great. I'm just making sure that I don't not shout out American friends. Okay, great. It's all the American friends. Okay. Sweet. You guys want to talk now a little bit about some of the new releases that we got out of this, or do you want to jump into some more personal stuff?
We can talk. Sorry, what were the options I was reading?
Let's do the event you're preparing for, right? And like the event we went to, and then we can talk
Sure.
about new releases to close it out.
Totally.
Yeah, I think that'd be the best way to do it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So, what have you been up to lately, Lucas?
I have been playing World Eaters. So, the couple episodes ago, there was that kind of dilemma of whether or not I wanted to take Orcs or Chaos Knights to Atomic City Warzone. I decided that Orcs were kind of too spooky for me because I'm a coward. And so I took Chaos Knights and went 5-0 and decided I fucking hate that shit. I'm not playing that again. Just too much volatility and too many scammy, dumb interactions. Every time, regardless of whether or not I fall on the upside or downside of those interactions, I hate that way of playing Warhammer, where it just feels like, if I win a game, it was not deserved. If I lose a game, it was not deserved. It's just very frustrating. So screw that. I'm putting that army on the shelf.
Make a quick comment here. I'm kind of surprised that Chaos Knights haven't seen a resurgence right now. Like, I think of Chaos Knights as the anti-whole army.
I think they get preyed on by a lot of I think Sisters and Guard, for example, really chew them up.
Really? Okay. Those I was thinking that they would be good at taking down because they are really good at killing tanks.
They are definitely good at killing Guard tanks, but the problem is you need to play very carefully, otherwise they kill your entire army in 2 turns.
Valid. All right. Fair enough.
So maybe I need to play that one more and I'm missing something, but I think you can keep the game close by playing very carefully. But yeah, so not super enjoying either of my main factions, so I decided to branch out and do Trader Power Armor a little bit more. I've experimented a little bit with CSM, but in an effort to not go out and buy a million ACDCs or have to paint all that garbage, I decided to embark on a new hobby project, which is painting World Eaters. So I'm working on 20 Berserkers right now, got 10 Terminators, also kind of 3-colored here, which if you know anything about my painting process, it just kind of takes a while. So this will probably be what I'm working on until at least January or February, but I'm really liking the scheme. It's black and brass. And I've been enjoying playing them a lot as well. Dean Sinbeck was the Team Australia. I think he's the captain last year, and took 30 World Eater Terminators to WTC. And in his recap and kind of talking about the list, I thought it was really cool, and I thought it deserved a little bit of exploration as well. The Termies have a really awesome rule. It means they get +1 to hit when they're wounded and +1 to wound when they're below half. So it makes them a little bit stickier and good at continuing to punch even after they've taken hits, which is usually World Eaters kind of have this thing where your army is so elite that once you've lost some chunks of it, it can kind of feel impossible to continue playing, even if the Remnant squads hit really hard. And the Terminators kind of help with that because they're a little more sticky than the 8-bound. They have more OC, they have more punching power when the squad gets depleted. That kind of thing kind of helps double down on that a little bit. So decided to start hobbying up, and I took them to an RTT last weekend, went 2-1. It was very fun. I did end up losing on top table to Nick's Gladius, which is a problem matchup. It's one of the things I've identified with World Eaters is just there's a lot of things that you just feel either are insurmountable or feel insurmountable just because of the army only plays in one way, basically. But yeah, I mean, world leaders, the units come in big chunks, so it can be kind of hard to design a list that really feels all the innovative or different, which I think was why we were kind of stumbling over that world leader list at the World Championships, because it just felt like every other world leader list, just kind of different combinations of the same 3 data sheets. But overall, it's fun. The army definitely has a lot of stuff going on, and it is different than anything I've played so far. It's, with orcs, I'm very used to kind of like the slow, grindy, attritional, like flip your objectives and slowly grind you out play style. Chaos Knights, it's a little bit more aggressive and damage dealery, where you got to kind of like orchestrate all the pieces in concert. Wool leaders are a lot more, you just got to like try to play to the it's going to be riskier, and you got to try to play to your outs. And sometimes you're going to go for plays and they won't work. Whereas, orcs, I feel like I always want to go for a guaranteed play. Chaos Knights as well, I want to set up as much redundancy as possible. World leaders, sometimes you just got to go for stuff. And that's something that I've noticed. I haven't been going for any kind of risky anything. 4-inch charge. Ooh, it's too risky. I got to make sure it's a 3. Kind of building a little bit of that back into my common Warhammer play is, I think, going to be good for me. It's going to be a point of growth for me in the next couple months. So no better place to start doing that than with world leaders. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm interested. So I know we've been having a little bit of changes since the RTT, talking about list changes. I think a big question, right, is why no Angron, right? Like, you've been playing the 30 Terminators. Does Angron make it back in the list? Why weren't you running him originally? What are your thoughts?
So the reason Dean did not run Angron at the WTC, and I kind of went on I feel like the same pilgrimage that he did, and a little bit, where he, right after the event, said, his list kind of lacked agency. And ability to kind of put the opponent on the back foot, which is one of the things world leaders are best at, is like, taking control and playing the game that you want to play as the world leader player. Whereas the Terminators are slow enough that they kind of recede that a little bit, and then removing Angron from the list kind of deals a significant death blow to that kind of style. And I think that it's really punishing, because the army wants to play aggressively and get up in your opponent's face and make them play on your terms, and removing 8-bound and Angron really hampers that. So I played 30 Terminators last weekend, and we're going to play them again this weekend at the Guardian Gobbler, the little GT that we have here in Portland, just to continue to get reps with them. But I'm really feeling that the list needs Angron. If that's 30 Naders and Angron and basically nothing else, that's fine. If it's 20 Terminators and Angron, you throw in some MSU 8-bound, I think that's also good. Those are options I'm going to explore, probably going into Slaanesh and maybe in the new year. But the Terminators, I feel like, especially if you're going to build the lists, in a very similar way that T-Suns need Magnus, I feel like world leaders kind of can't play without Angron unless you're just trying to play a blunter list that scores an 8 in every single matchup. Or in most matchups, I guess. But I think you need him. His strengths are, he just demands so much respect. Like, he either needs to be answered every turn, or he's going to take his pound of flesh. There are very, very few units that can actually bog him down, and he's not going to stay there for more than like 1 or 2 rounds of combat, even if he does get bogged down. So the Terminators, by contrast, can't fall back and charge. So if they just get stuck on 10 guys in a Rhino, like, they're just stuck there for an entire battle round, which is really rough. So the unique respect he demands, his speed, he's the best recipient of Auto Advance 6. He has Fly, so he can jump over screens. He combos really well with Terminators because they can go in, clear a relatively durable thing up front, and then Angron can like charge over that screen and then pile into something else, really force your opponent to change the way they screen, which is just really powerful to have. You really want to make the opponent play the way that you want to play, and Angron really doubles down on that, like I said. So he is going to definitely make his way back into my world leader lists for the next couple events I'm going to. Which is rough because he's so many freaking points. Like, it doesn't make sense in my head that you would want to take, a 460 point or 430, whatever the hell points he is, dude who dies to 1.5 indicators. But he does a very unique thing that nothing else in the army does.
It's very funny to bookend this conversation with our conversation about the Triumph not so long ago. of man is a 400 plus point piece that your entire army needs to work around really worth taking. And in this case, I think it is.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I also think he really helps with that the thing you were talking about, right? Where you're like, I need to like be okay with playing a little riskier when I play World Leaders. And it's like Angron is a bit more of a risk-taking unit, right? He's so many points into one basket. He is rather consistent because like he hits on 2s with full rerolls. He wounds on 2s with like, you know, reroll 1s to wound with the 8-bound nearby. But like he's not that resilient. He usually goes in, annihilates something, and if they're playing well, he dies. But yeah, I think that's kind of just like leaning into the strengths and play style of the army. So yeah, I think it's cool you went on this journey, but it's like cool that you went and tested out other stuff before just accepting like the auto include stuff. You know, you figured out if it was really worth it or not.
I think one of his strengths is if you're playing this more all-in play style where the Terminators all come in one wave, he isn't that tanky, but he does require dedicated firepower to kill at the end of the day. Like, right, he does require between 1 and 2 Vindicators to reliably kill. And then that means that's 1 or 2 Vindicators that aren't shooting at your Terminators. And as we saw last weekend, Nick, that it can be fucking devastating, right? Like, if Angron goes in, Thunder punches one thing and dies, indirectly he's also saved the lives of like 7 or 8 Terminators. So learning to play in that way is going to be new for me because I'm very used to the orcs like slow trickle, the Chaos Knight, like trading play style. The all-in commit isn't something I've done for a while.
No, I love it, dude.
I think that Angron also poses just such a fundamentally different threat with the revive that really messes with your calculus playing against him, right? At all points in time, you have to be screening for a model that is not in your opponent's army. Oh, I hate it. And the moment you decide that it's probably not going to happen, I'm going to go ahead and focus over here to push and get a little bit greedier and try to get some diff out of this. He immediately comes back and you get punished for it. He spreads out your opponent's screens, which is a thing that like is really beneficial to the world leaders in the first place. That your opponent, if your opponent puts everything at once and you put everything in one place, if you put everything in one place and your opponent puts everything in the same place, they're probably going to shoot you to pieces. But if you're able to keep all of your stuff bunched up and the opponent has to spread it out to keep the screens going, like you get to wrecking ball through their stuff a lot more effectively. I haven't lost to world leaders in a minute, but when they've been a problem, it's usually because of having to deal with that constant threat, or choosing not to and then getting punished by it. Sweet. So that's kind of where Luke is at. Nick, you want to talk a little about your journey with the Dark Angels over here? I know that's a pretty hard left turn for you in terms of faction as well.
Yeah, so I've been playing Votann a bit, at like our local teams nights especially, and the army is just like so incredibly honest. Like it doesn't have any tricks. Like that list we were talking about earlier, with the like 20 Zerkers and everything. That list is super cool, but like there's no like ingress threats. There's no like the bikes get to leave and come back. That's cool, but like it's really easy to screen, 6 oval bases, especially when people are packing stuff to screen 3-inch deep striking guys on 28s, right? So if they let bikes slip into their backfield, like there's bigger issues going on. So that list is very fun in teams, at least, because you do just go in and be like, I'm gonna score 8 to 10. Let's go. And you basically just drive your hecatons forward and you ask your opponent if they can kill them. And if they can't, you walk over them. And if they can, then you just try to hit them as hard as possible with your counter shoot and / charge. Not super fun for an event. It's fun for like one-off games. But like if you're playing that at an event, you're going to hit someone that goes, yes, I can answer this. And then you just lose. And like there's no amount of like player skill that really can get around that unless there's like a massive gap between you two. And so I just didn't really want to play like a army as binary as that. So something that I was looking at that just aesthetically and playstyle wise seemed very satisfying was Gladius. I know it's like kind of a little outdated in the meta. A lot more people seem to be more focused on Vanguard Ultramarines again. Some people are like experimenting with Iron Storm again. But you know what? I never played Gladius, and I want to play Deathwing Knights and the Lion. So Lucas convinced me to go to this RTT, which was super fun. And it just brought like a very silly, like, beat people in the face list. It was like the Lion, Azrael, Judiciar, 2x5 Deathwing Knights, 1 squad of 6 Inner Circle Companions, 2 squads of 5 Scouts for scoring, 2 squads of 5 JPI for like early trading and scoring, 1 squad of Assaultants for like some scoring / they can join Azrael if you need the Judiciar to join the Inner Circle to get them fights first. And then last but not least, 2 Vindicators because they're good. They shoot hard. I ended up going 3-0 at that tournament, losing on tiebreakers, so I got second, but it was a ton of fun. I ended up playing like Nids Monster Mash. I played the Mirror matchup round 2, which was very silly, into one of our teammates, George, and then I played Lucas round 3. So I didn't really get to experience Azrael in the Inner Circle because I really needed the fights first Judiciar, because I played against 2 like mono melee armies. But I know like the idea is I think 15 Deathwing Knights is kind of the meta version of that list. But you know what? The Lion is really fun and he's not that suboptimal compared to him. The list is really interesting though. Like it feels like a very, very like A-tier army. Like it feels like it's like it's strong into a lot of the meta stuff, like elite infantry. Vindicators are fantastic into elite infantry. Deathwing Knights will win like every extended combat, like over time. The Lion is fantastic into elite infantry. The list is a very big problem with dealing with trash and screens, because everything in that list is like a hammer. You don't have you have like 2 JPI units and that's it to like go clear like shitty stuff. And you don't really want to trade a Vindicator to shoot at like 5 Sisters or something like that. So yeah, I was fortunate enough to not run into any of that, but I was kind of talking about it because I'm considering taking it to Slaanesh, which is like our big major coming up, just because like that list has a little bit more tricks than Votann. Like it has army-wide advance and charge, army-wide fallback shoot and charge, access to put other guys into those units, advance and shoot, right? Having just access to those things is super fun because it's like something that your opponent has to like play around advance and charge. Or like if they bog your units down, they go, haha, you can't shoot. Well, actually I can fall back and shoot you. So like it's just fun. I get why people really like Marines. I get why people really like Gladius. And I also get why it's probably going to be getting changed when they do like the Marine rewrite sometime early next year. So I want to at least experience it at another tournament before it goes bye-bye. I know Lucas and I are talking about some like slight changes too, because like I don't really understand what the Inner Circle are supposed to be doing. Like that unit kind of disappointed me every time. Like I get that it's a melee unit in that army that has like good screen clearing potential because it has sweeps that sustain too. But it's super oaths reliant unless you're attacking a unit with a character. And like I don't know, it was weird. There aren't that many units that I was like attacking with characters in my practice games so far with it. Because like people are just like screening with like here's 10 dudes, or here's 5 dudes or something like that, but you shouldn't be setting Inner Circle one on a 5-man or something. But like the unit's not that resilient unless Azrael's leading him. And you don't really want to be losing Azrael early game. So we were kind of thinking like, okay, like why do people consider this unit as like an auto include, or is this just kind of like people are still playing it because it was really good at one point when this list was cheaper? Like, is this just something where it's like you find some points and you like cut the Judiciar in the Inner Circle and you just like get 5 more Deathwing Knights and now you have 15 Deathwing Knights in the Lion? Seems pretty good, Do you end up going down like more scoring? That was the big thing when we were building it, was like really making sure we got the second Scout Squad, because like that's just how you beat this army, is getting rid of its scoring elements. And so like a lot of these games I was just like using the JPI and the Scouts and sometimes the Judiciar on his own or the Assaultants. And I was scoring my secondaries pretty well, but I would never go below the amount of units we have in there right now. So yeah, there's a little bit of time before Slaanesh. But I think the core of the list is pretty set. It's more just like trying to figure out like kind of like what Lucas's journey is. It's like, was Angron worth it? It's like, are the Inner Circle worth it? Like everyone had them, but like, are they an auto include? So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it.
I definitely feel like they struggle a little bit into killing vehicles because they need oaths. Right, like if I just compare a 1-to-1, like would I rather have a squad of Inner Circle fight using oaths into a vehicle, or would I rather just have my Vindicator with oaths shoot it? right? Like, and every Vindicator you add really adds to the threat vectors that your army poses, right? Like you can have one of your expansion now and one threatening the middle and one in reserve instead of just two of those three. Like it sounds very obvious when I say it, but like actually seeing that benefit on the tabletop is a huge difference. And like if I'm just comparing those 1-to-1 because their points are so similar, I feel it actually I think they're almost pretty much the same. Which one of those would I have? I would 100% rather have the T11 tank with a 2-up armor save. That if you put it down to 1 wound, shoots with the same effectiveness instead of, if you get the inner circle down to 1 model, they're kitting with a 6th of the effectiveness, Like there's just I think the inner circle were popular because when people started running them over the summer, melee Marines, be it Wolf Jail, be it Dark Angels, be it Blood Angels before their codex, were all incredibly popular, and that unit took a fat shit on all of those armies. Yep. Now we're not seeing nearly as much melee. So, like, what's the point of Fight First? What's the point of Azrael making them tanky? I'd rather just have an actual tanky unit, the Deathwing Knights or the Vindicator.
Yeah, because, like, charging, like, 6 inner circle and Azrael into a Hydra is, like, you might not win that fight. Like, that thing's 85 points and my unit is, like, 200, almost 300 points. Yeah. So, like, when people are screening with shit like that, it's like, yeah, like what's the point of this unit? Was it really good in 2 of my 3 games? Yes, because I played into melee heavy like Marines. And honestly, it wasn't even that insane into you because you didn't have any character units.
Also, like, would you have won those games anyway?
If I had a 3rd Vindicator and like something else, probably. Like the Vindicators were insane, So yeah. It's a big bummer. That unit looks really cool.
It does. Especially like with the badass character. Not Azrael, he's not badass, but the Judas here.
Azrael's badass, so you get out of here.
Yeah, he's very good at jerking off in the backfield and giving you
when he's with the inner circle, he runs in and punches people, dude.
He definitely runs in and gives those people a 4-up invuln while they punch things.
He punches pretty hard. You got a funny AP4 sword. Devlins. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. It's a fun list.
It is.
Very cool. Looking forward to seeing that.
What about you, Mr. Tyler? What have you been playing around with lately?
Yeah, I am still on the Vanguard hype train. I was bummed for a minute there that we got that surprise assault nerf, but having now played in some games with the army, it still fucks unbelievably hard. Basically, didn't end up feeling the need to cut the flyer into either as much as I thought about that. The list just still operates really well, so I've been enjoying that a lot. I did see that the French gal Amy J is at Worlds with a Harridan right now in Vanguard, which is so sick. Forge World big dumb models are big dumb models, but that is one of the only tiered models that I don't currently own. So that definitely has me a little bit intrigued on what to do with that. The shtick there being that in Vanguard, it doesn't have the Vanguard Invader keyword as much as it looks like it might. That'd be really crazy, but it doesn't. You can have it arrive turn 1 because we have the 1 CP strat for any unit to arrive from strategic reserves at turn early, which makes its flyers a lot stronger, right? Because it can just arrive where it wants to be. It's on a small oval base, not a mega base, so it's allowed to hang over the edge and still shoot, see whatever the hell it wants, and just start obliterating things. Its guns aren't actually that good at killing tanks. They're strength 10 plus 1 to wound, which is fine, but like it still just hits on 3s. It does admittedly have an average of 19 shots, which is pretty funny because each of its cannons are D6 plus 6.
And you plus 1 to hit it with the strat? Oh, it's not a...
No, it's not Vanguard. You can't use any synergies on it. The only thing you could do is you could hit something else with an Exocrine to give it reroll 1s to hit, or hit something else with a Pyrovore to give it ignores cover. Amy's taking neither. I think a Pyrovore probably makes a good bit of sense. The Exocrine I get because at the point in time where you are focusing an Exocrine's firepower and then the Harridan's firepower at something, like you probably just kill it with both the Harridan guns. and that 135 points is better spent on more Vanguard bullshit because you're already lightening your ground presence a lot by taking this big stupid dragon.
Yeah.
What I'm curious about is how often she just starts it in hover mode and says fuck it because it has hilarious melee. It's not good melee, but it's hilarious melee. But there's definitely a time for that. Like I think against guard, that's probably against guard you need to reserve it. So if you go second, it doesn't just immediately die to hydras. He did lose to guard, who didn't have any hydras, but could be a problem. At the end of the day, it is T9 3-up save for 600 points.
Yikes, dude.
It's 30 wounds, but it's T9 3-up save.
Yeah, I'll say that again.
So it needs to get in, kill the thing that kills it, and then hope that it did enough damage and is enough of a, like Angron, a distraction card effects while the rest of your army does Vanguard shit.
Interesting.
So, I'm curious to try this. I don't know if it's actually what's up, but it's baller as hell. So we'll see about that. And then I've also been playing a bunch of Necrons lately because they're great. I am bored to death by Silent King builds. I think that is like the least interesting way to play that army. Props to Kit and everyone else who plays it. Like it's really good, obviously, and it gets results, and you can't argue with those. But it just is not why I like Necrons in the slightest. I like Necrons because warriors are awesome, and I think that 40 warriors has an absolute place right now. I did some practice them into Sisters a bunch. I played into our buddy Nick Fromm. I played into Nanavati, and just like, boom, 40 warriors getting the job done. Sisters really struggle with that unit. If they don't run the Seraphim, there's basically nothing they can do about that unit. If they do run the Seraphim, it's still really tricky. And then I was like, all right, this is probably also great guard. And I played into Lennon, and he was like, no, it's not. No, it's actually terrible. You're bad at Warhammer. So, all right, fair enough, Sean. But it does have a play in the guard. You just need to be a little bit more precise with it. I think the guard need to get toned down just a little bit. But it has the right tools, especially on a WTC table. Playing John on GW was annoying as hell. Because hiding shit is just a pain. But we'll see what we can do with that. I'm having a lot of fun with them. I mainly switched over to that army for a minute because I was scared that Vanguard was going to take a fat L, and it hasn't, so I'm still having fun over here. And especially with the way that the meta is shaping out, I would not be surprised if Necrons get hit again. And if suddenly monoliths and DDAs don't seem like what's up anymore, I think we're going to start running out of things to do with that warrior list pretty quick, so I'll stick with Nids for the time being. I'm not playing GSC. People keep asking if I'm playing GSC. I don't like GSC. This army's not fun.
Yeah, what's the rationale there? I'm curious.
Yeah, the way that GSD plays right now is just like drown your opponent in MSU melee units, and if you roll 5s, your opponent just loses. I don't know. It doesn't really appeal to me at all. There's like very little move blocking. There's very little positioning. It's just a lot of just keep cramming stuff down their throat until they lose. And if they happen to have the right tools to break out early, or you don't roll enough cult ambush rolls, like bummer. But yeah, I should put a rep or two into it, but like I have enough other stuff that I'm enjoying playing that it's not really that appealing to me.
If you're not interested, don't play it.
Yeah, I could be wrong. Like, I've played against it a couple times now, and like, tell you what, Vanguard beats the shit out of it. Yeah, it's just not really appealing to me. And I assume that it's going to get one of those you can't be balanced, you get to be bad mega nerf hammers coming in soon. The Cult Ambush change is a really stupid change. It took a really fun and interesting mechanic that like the stratagems they wrote for were really poorly written and didn't really do anything, but conceptually the idea of I get this additional resource, but under some very specific hoops to jump through that give my opponent pretty obvious counterplay. Like with the index, it was a little bit too strong, and with the codex they tried to really tamp it down, and then they went ahead and took away the main restriction balancing act part of it, which also here's a hot take. I don't think the thing that makes that broken is the fact that you get the units back anyway. I think the thing that makes that broken is it means you get them back a turn faster.
Yeah.
right? We talked about this a lot with old GSC, was that the downside to getting units killed, even if they came back almost automatically, was that they're off the board for a round, right? It's a 5-round game. If I deep strike turn 2 and you kill me if I deep strike bottom 2 and you kill me top of 3, I don't come back until bottom 4. Like, the game's almost over. And that's and if there's going to be so taking that away and saying, oh no, you killed me at the top of the turn, I come in at the bottom of the turn, like, the pacing is just a mess. Especially with how egregious some of these units can be, with the Steelers just cramming down your throat immediately. 20 or 30 Pierce Strains, if you just go first, jail someone, and they come back, and then they are the third wave while the second wave is crashing, like, it's gross. And it's not particularly pleasant.
It just doesn't feel like it's, as many units as it has, and the fact that it's all over the place, it just doesn't really feel like it's interacting very much, other than just like repeatedly trying to fucking scam, basically, right?
Yeah.
It's like all of the units coming back and just bombing 9s to try to tie you up is like, okay, cool, man.
Yeah, nines which are actually like 6s,
I guess. Yeah, that's annoying. The old 3-inch deep strike to move block, 3-inch deep strike to score points, that's just gone. So the army has no long range firepower. So 20 cultists in the backfield or 20 Gretchen or whatever screen the entirety of it out for the entirety of the game, right? All you have to do is prevent those units from getting Gene Stealer on turn 1, and then they're just playing the game in front of you, and they're just trying to overwhelm you with shit in the front of your army, which is I personally enjoy those kind of games. I like brawlery games, but even I think that would get old for me pretty quickly. Just the waves of obnoxious shit.
I have a lot of fun playing against it. I think it's a really cool NPC, but there's nothing about that playstyle that makes me think, oh man, I really want to do that.
Yeah. My one experience so far was Ascension Day, and that was cool to see the 3-inch deep strike, because he was actually able to infiltrate my backfield a little bit, and that felt a little bit more like the Colt ambushing.
Mm-hmm.
But holy shit, the attachment does negative damage. And also with no pickup and ability, once you arrive from reserves, it's well, goodbye army ability.
Yep. It's absolutely crazy to me to be like, my detachment rule, it works on turns 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The pickup when you get shot strat is actually kind of cool.
It is.
Especially when you can revive and deep strike.
Totally. If there were any counterplay to getting tagged.
Yes, exactly.
If
you play against piecemeal shooting, if you're playing against Tau or something, right? Or Admech or something like that, you could get half your unit killed and then go into reserve, heal a little bit, come back in.
But Tau and Admech can tag you. They have units. It's a 300-point brick with multiple characters that loses to your opponent having a unit.
That's when
what are we doing?
That's when you ingress your aberrants and heroic them to stop the tag.
Sure, dude. There's definitely no counterplay to that.
Nope.
None at all. But I'm not enjoying that a lot right now. If you want GSC coaching, talk to Innes. He knows stuff. I can talk to you about it. But at the end of the day, it's not for me. So I'm loving Vanguard. I'm playing around with some Invasion Fleet as well, because that's a good time. I'm probably going to put Sam Pope's Invasion Fleet Gaunt spam on the board at some point, because I work so hard on my goddamn termagants, and if there's an excuse to play them again, I might have to give it a try. They're great, man. I love my damn termagants. Reactive moves go stupid, but Vanguard is it's so good. It's so good. I'm gonna keep playing that until the wheels fall off, basically. Sweet. All right. Well, we are coming up on that 90-minute mark. You guys want to just do some listener questions and wrap it out on this, or is there anything else you guys wanted to cover? Did you really want to go look at pretty pictures of Eldar models? Spoiler alert, they're pretty. You all should go do that.
Yeah, let's do listener questions
first.
Sleep.
Sweet. All right.
We can briefly discuss something else, but
totally. So we got a question from our boy Isaac, who is one of our locals, and my computer is being terrible. I want to copy paste. Please let me copy paste. No, I'm not allowed to copy paste. How about if I do this? Copy, paste. That works. Great. Isaac asks, how do you think TOs can improve on player packs? Man, oh man, do we have some opinions on that. as someone who put in a list not knowing that map 7 will be used on both day 2 games, it was very painful. Yeah, terrain should be in your player pack. It should be. If you're playing on preset GW terrains, the mission and the terrain used should probably be in there, and it should probably be in there before list lock. At the very least, it's before the event, but like, especially with something like Layout 7, if you're gonna put something that polarizing on the board, let people get upset about it beforehand, tell them there's nothing they can do, but it's a bit of a rude awakening to walk up to a day 2 of an event and be like, oh, my guns don't work. Awkward.
Admittedly, I do think that was in the ACW player pack.
Read the damn pack, Isaac.
That was after.
After list lock.
Yeah, up here we have a bunch of stupid shit where basically TOs will, not tell people what terrain they're playing on, or not tell people what missions they're gonna play, or whether or not you're gonna play hot dog or hamburger on day 2.
It's lasagna time, brother.
Let's go, dude. I love lasagna. Just, I don't know. I feel like this has been beaten to death. I'm a little tired of talking about it. Like, as cool as our scene has been the last couple of years, and as much as we've grown, we've still got like a bunch of dumb shit. Notably, John and Anya's 10:30 start time is my newest annoyance. But
yeah, part of that is venue, right?
No, dog. Everyone else arrives early in the morning and gets set up and starts at 10. 10 is already late enough to get started. I don't want to get home at fucking 9:30 p.m.
I'm saying the doors don't open until 10 to the public.
Then fucking set up the day before. All I know is the last 2 nights in death, I've sat around for half an hour watching people eat bagels while everyone's waiting for the tournament to start.
All right. Well, I haven't been to those yet, so I can't comment on that. I am a big fan of releasing your mission pack and terrain pack early. I know some people aren't a fan of it because they believe that then people can counter build or build specific lists for the terrain and the missions. I think at a bare minimum, you should at least release your maps early. Like, these are the terrain layouts that will be played on that you can expect to see day 1 and day 2. I think that's a totally reasonable thing. If you don't want to release your missions early, totally fine. But like, here's my hot take. Anyone who's going to counter build, like, or specifically build for that is probably someone who's in like the running to win the tournament anyways,
Also,
regardless of whether you do that or not.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be, people are going to enjoy seeing the stuff early. It creates a lot less questions day of. I do like at least the, hey, submit your list this day, and then you'll get the player pack like a week before. So you do have a week to read over the stuff. I think if you aren't going to release missions early, at a bare minimum, do that, So.
Here's a crazy idea. If it's so easy to counter build to obliterate your pack, right? If you're choosing terrain in format such that the entire tournament is very clearly swung in favor of one particular archetype, you built a bad pack. Try again, right? Like, you're telling me that you don't want someone to be able to see that and use their brain to figure out, oh wait, this kind of build works really well here and this kind doesn't. So you think that the person with the greatest advantage should be the guy who happened to roll up with the thing that you thought should be really overpowered this weekend? Like, what?
Yes.
Build a better pack. Put the agency in the players' hands. Come on.
We're playing Lynchman Search and Destroy. My master plan will come into effect. I'm such a tryhard. Fuck you, Bird.
Yeah, but also,
That was a little aggressive, but yeah, wow. You're if you need mystery to keep your event balanced, your event is poorly balanced. Try again. Cool. Have we beat this to death enough? Can we talk about something else?
Yes.
Yep.
Isaac also asked if we have favorite commander decks. Nick, I know you play play cards from time to time.
Primal Calamity, dude. 3-headed dino, go raw. There we go.
Hell yeah, great. And then Isaac also says he has about 2.5K of printed GSC headed his way that he needs to start painting for LVO. Any tips for hobbying GSC? This I actually do have thoughts on. Not on playing GSC, but I have a lot of thoughts on hobbying them, having hobbied a lot of them. Fucking sleeping, Lucas. What is happening over there? Anyway, obviously an airbrush is your best friend, and OSL is your best friend when it comes to hordes if you need to paint things in an actually expeditious manner. Lucas can tell you how to paint a horde over the course of a decade, but if you need to get it done in a week, OSL is your best friend. You want bright, flashy colors that contrast against each other, and then good dark washes, whether you want to be an oil wash gamer or just use something pretty grungy. Like that level of contrast is what gets people to think that hordes look good more than anything else. You can spend all the time you want freehanding checkerboard on your shoulder pads. Your opponent probably can't see that from more than 3 feet away. So contrasty colors, airbrushed OSL, make things happen easy. GSC in particular have all these bright lamps all over them. So definitely would recommend using those for your OSL there. Next question. John asks, and yeah, my computer's just being terrible. Oh, no, I do get to copy paste. Great. John asks, what do you think of the recent run of Biosanctic? And then mostly at Tyler, but curious what the non-GSC folks think. I've talked about it enough. I don't like it. I hope it gets nerfed into oblivion and we just start over, because I would love a GSC army that plays like GSC. They made every other army get all the GSC stuff, and then they took the GSC stuff away from GSC. I don't understand how we don't have an uppy-downy detachment. This is nonsense to me. Like, we are the cultists. We are everywhere. That's our whole shtick. Anyway, where do you see world leaders in the current meta? This question comes from Goran. Lucas, you're probably the right person to ask. It's a good question.
I still need to get a bunch of data on like what matchups they're good and bad into, but in my head they seem pretty good into like all of the shooting hull stuff because they're fast, they have ingress threats, they have scouting, which a lot of those armies like don't like. You know, Guard doesn't have a ton of midfield deployers, Sisters don't really either. So you can like really rush up on them early and get aggressive. So like I think in theory they're not bad into those armies, but I really should play it a couple times to confirm that. I think they kind of struggle into a bunch of like random stragglers in the meta that just happen to fucking bully beat them down, like Death Guard and Dark Angels. God damn it, I cannot escape these armies for the life of me. Start with orcs, get shit on by these armies, move to world leaders, get shit on by these armies. Hell yeah, dude.
Welcome to the PNW, baby.
Really kind of dookie on you, which is a bummer. But yeah, I think in theory they're pretty good into a lot of these shooting builds just because they can stage and rush so aggressively.
Very cool. Yeah, I would agree with that. Next question comes in from Mr. Pena himself. He says, what are your wild and baseless speculations on the changes hinted at by GW regarding Space Marines, blips, and miracle dice? Space Marine changes, I don't know. I don't think Space Marines need a lot of changes.
Here's my wild and based speculation. Ready for this? Space Marines, if you're playing Codex Space Marines, you have AOC army wide all the time. Blips. Cult Ambush gets changed to be the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to happen with the blips. You don't get units in Deep Strike for free anymore. Miracle Dice. You can use 1 per phase, and it always counts as a 1.
You know, like almost reasonable until the very last sentence.
No. How about this? Oh my god, I had so many thoughts about Miracle Dice, but my brain just exploded.
You don't have real ones here or jokey ones? We had some like real ones today where we're like they shouldn't be able to be used on rerolls, and they shouldn't trigger anything that triggers off a 6. So like no dev wound, no sustain, no lethal, which there aren't that many in Sisters, but like this is something they should do for Strands of Fate as well, or like in general, right? That's why Strands was so broken. Which cool thing, we didn't cover it yet, but Strands being removed is an army-wide rule from Eldar in the new codex, and they're getting battle focus as their army-wide rule. Bit of a cool flavor win, as we were saying, because not every Eldar is psychic, right? And also cool GW to recognize. Trying to balance that rule is going to be really hard. So
I remembered my Miracle Dice thoughts real quick. Get rid of the free ones. If there's a simulacrum on an objective, fine. If you fork over for the triumph, fine. If your units die, fine. If you kill someone, fall, fine. The fact that you get 10 for free, you get 10 for free for showing up is so infuriatingly stupid. Like that rule became a thing because the index was not powerful. Like this time last year when no one was playing Sisters, they're like, have 5 more free miracle dice. That's fine. We can get rid of that rule now. The army is great. We can get rid of that rule and it's fine.
Yeah. At the very least, get rid of the ones on your opponent's turn. And cut it down. Yeah, it's my turn.
It's ridiculous.
They're prying. And then I think like a more realistic Space Marine change that a lot of people seem to be talking about is like some sort of restriction with like Codex Space Marine or the successor chapters or whatever it is, the non-Codex compliant aren't able to play in the detachments from Codex Space Marines or something like that. Like you can't have Dark Angels Gladius. It's like you're playing Gladius or you're playing one of the Dark Angels detachment with the Dark Angels units. That seems to be at least like the biggest issue there. But that's not going to just solve the issue. It's like Codex Space Marines need some freaking buffs. There's a reason why people are playing the Space Wolves and the Dark Angels and the Black Templars is because those units are very strong compared to...
There's no reason not to.
Yeah.
I appreciate that this idea of limiting detachments gives you a reason to play vanilla Marines. To say, hey, these are some of the best detachments in the game. I would like access to them. I will exchange my access to my funny units. Yeah, would like something like that. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, cool. Those are some baseless speculations, Alex. Next question comes from the boy Jonathan Siebert. All of the ruffians are chiming in this week. He asked, what army do you want to play but are reluctant to put on the table? What is holding you back? What could be improved? What could improve that faction for you to be excited to play them again, but remain balanced in the meta?
Orcs.
It's a good one.
I fucking hate orcs right now. Admittedly, I think a little bit of that is I've got a little bit green tided out over the summer. So I frankly don't think they're that bad right now. And there's definitely some experimentation I could do there, but I just don't want to because I'm so tired of it from the summer. But like Bully Boys and Warhorde, while I appreciate that some people can enjoy that play style and it is a powerful one, it's just so unbelievably honk shoe for me. Like I just fall asleep every time I see, oh, good stuff in transport. Whee! Like there's so many armies that already do that, and that archetype is beaten to death. Like it's just so boring. And I've said this a million times and I'll say it again, but I just want orcs to be a horde army. I just want to run 100+ guys and not feel like I'm trolling. And I probably could do that in Green Tide, but like seeing an orc list with 30 orcs in it is just depressing.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I think for me, it's absolutely swarm nids. I miss my gargoyles. I miss my termagants. Like, I might go see if Sam's really figured something out here with these invasion gaunts. But like, man, gargoyles are cool. I like putting 300 dudes on the table, and a lot of that level of bullshit is just no longer available and relevant. And I'm very happy with the armies that I'm playing for the first time not first time yet, but at the moment I am overwhelmed with things that I want to play and not having any issue with their not being anything fun or anything like that. But that is at the end of the day my play style of preference, and would love to get back to that being fun and interesting again, as opposed to being completely unplayable right now, right? The combination of the existence of Cole and the destruction of the stratagem was just like massively disrespectful for an already questionable archetype. I think the stratagem can come back, and Cole is a fine damper. I don't think it would be that big of a deal to play around that, but we'll see how things shake out. I don't see it happening this edition, but hopefully in 11th we can have Horde Nids be a thing again.
Yeah. I think I kind of already answered this earlier. For me, it's like Votann, right? There's a reason I'm not playing them right now, is because they are just kind of like, they feel a little too honest. I would love them to have like a little more tricks, like something my opponent has to keep in the back of their mind, something they have to watch out for, rather than just being able to pre-measure everything and like play around me perfectly, you know? So part of what is exciting is like that announcement today, right, where they announced a new detachment for every army in the month of December. So I'm very excited to see like what design space they enter with Votann. And then another smaller answer, I guess, not as important, or not like the main army I really want to play is T-Suns. Like I feel like that army's just kind of been beaten to death at this point. You're kind of just playing the same list you played like 9 months ago, but like worse because it's missing so many points. And they're a fun army to play, but like I think everyone playing that army and playing against that army is tired of it just being Magnus and the boys, and now it's very much more like Magnus and the two boys. So yeah, that army is in desperate need of some changes to breathe some life into it.
Very cool. Next question comes in from Alex R, who asked, what do you think of Olivier Weiss's Company of Hunters Dark Angels list? I didn't talk about it during the main segment because I knew we were going to talk about it now. Can't tell if it's another one of his genius ideas or if it's going to underperform. Well, he's only lost to Richard Siegler, so I would struggle to call that underperforming, though he indeed is not going to be making it all the way. Take a peek at this list just over here. Nick, you want to run us through this as the resident Dark Angel?
This list is sick because it has the lion in it and other reasons, but it's got a lieutenant with combi weapon.
First of all, detachment. What are we playing here?
Oh yeah, we're playing Company of Hunters. Yeah, so Company of Hunters,
the Ravenwing detachment.
The Ravenwing detachment. It's basically the Stormlance of shooting. It is advance, fall back, and shoot for everything. We've got Lone Op Lieutenant Lionel Johnson. I think we have 3 Tech Marines. Yep.
Yes, sir.
We've got 3 Ballistus Dreadnoughts.
Yep.
We've got 1 Infiltrator Squad, because you should. We've got 2 Invader ATVs, because they're cheap multi-meltas. We have 3 Predator Destructors. I think it's... How many Stormspeeder Hammer Strikes? 1, 2? Just the one.
Just one.
This one to wound out. No. Hammer Strike is ignores cover, I believe. And then 2 Vindicators. So
what
the Tech
the
Marines
actual
basically...
fuck is this?
They all there's just a bunch of guys that advance and shoot, dude. And they fall back and shoot. That's it. You just can't tag it.
Is there any like Ravenwing synergy stratagems?
Nope.
No. All the stratagems
just running
are like
9 poles.
Actually, here's one funny stratagem. I think there's a stratagem to go into strat reserves. Let me double check if that's mounted only.
Dark Angels, Codex Supplement, Company of Hunters, Stratagems.
Yeah. Oh, it's a Ravenwing.
So
unit.
Ravenwing mounted. Do the ATVs get Ravenwing mounted? I don't think so. Yeah. If you're wondering why there aren't any enhancements in this list, it's because all of them can only go on Ravenwing command squads, and it doesn't have any of those.
Yeah. I just don't think this guy's playing with strats really. I think he's like CPU.
He has AOC.
Yeah.
He has AOC.
And
which is
smoke.
real.
You know.
Yeah. But like AOC is from the detachment, right? That's not true.
Yeah.
CP reroll the number of Vindicator shots. That's pretty pog.
Yep.
Yeah, and then literally every other
save.
stratagem requires the Ravenwing keyword, which nothing in this army has.
Wait,
It's from
infantry. Yeah. Do Tech Marines get blown up near vehicles? That's the thing, right?
Yes, they do.
Yep.
So you have this funny nesting doll of your Tech Marines get blown up near most of your shit, and the lion gets blown up next to the Tech Marines, so they just wander forward. Well, they sprint forward, and then eventually the lion makes combat, and yeah, it's funny. So I mean, I think this list is cool. Obviously, it's not like Iron Storm with like tons of overlapping synergies. It's just holes that are good that sprint around with like 3 guys that hand out +1 to hit, and another tank that hands out ignores cover. You know, it's funny.
Yep.
He's obviously doing well with it. Like, I don't know, fast shooting's good, dude. Like, I wouldn't like look at this list and go, that list is gonna go 6-0 in a tournament. But I would be like, if someone's like, yeah, this list went 4-2, 5-1. If I played against this list on like certain layouts, I'd be like, fuck, man, I don't want to go second.
It makes a lot of sense on GW tables where once you turn the one corner, you get the whole army available. Like,
yeah,
go.
There's a certain points threshold as well, where you take a hull and you're like, even if this doesn't really do anything reliably, like 3 Predators for 390 plus 3 Ballistas for 390 is like, oh my god, dog. What the fuck is that?
Yep.
Less than 800
say,
points for 6 tanks?
this is 9 holes. Yeah.
Yep. 3, 3,
Welcome,
1,
welcome
2.
to 10th edition. The vehicles are here.
I love the idea that these, especially because it's the ballistist, like
the lion's kind of a hole too. He is a rhino.
Yeah.
With a 3.
the cars driving around fast is funny to me, but the idea that the ballistics are just like absolutely hucking it with their no arms, little stubby little legs, blitzing around, advancing and shooting. Like, what is happening here?
Yeah, no tech marine needed, dude. Just vibing.
Yeah. What do the invaders do again? They hand something out funny?
No, they get to
Nope.
like
They shoot back.
back
Yeah.
if like a guy nearby is shot or something.
Only mounted, so only
They're
themselves.
they're 65-point multi-meltas. Like that's what it
Yeah.
is. That
Hell
sprint
yeah,
around.
dude.
60
Holy
point.
shit.
Oh my bad. Yeah.
But yeah, move 12 of advanced shoot is pretty sexy. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is what's up. I'm excited to see how it goes through. I assume it's a little bit of a meme, right? This is
It
obviously
does seem
not.
like it does get bogged down by infantry. I don't know. Probably
Yes.
destructors aren't. Yeah, like it seems like those guard lists we were looking at earlier would just bog it down with bodies.
It's also just like mega susceptible to getting jailed, right?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
if you
Whereas-
get slammed in the locker, you're just not coming out. You have one
Yeah.
thing that flies. But again, better on GW than on WTC tables, for example.
Definitely.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very cool list. Very excited to see how it shakes out. Two more questions. This one comes from Adam Thylacine, who asks, has Tyler been playing in Spain or just TTSing? If playing, how is Spanish Ramon? That has nothing to do with playing Warhammer. Playing in Spanish or English, have you visited Spanish FLGS? How was it? Any wild looks for me? I have not been playing in person because I did not bring an army, because logistically that was just going to be a disaster. So I've been playing a ton on TTS, having a great time. Despite that, I have eaten plenty of jamon. It's wonderful. It's like there's like two good foods here, and that's one of them. My Spanish is not quite beta up to the point that I'm ready to. Well, I could get through a game of 40k in Spanish probably. Yeah, I did go to an LGS up in Granada to see what that was like, and it was pretty cool. The people there were very bad, so I'm not really bummed that I'm missing out on getting to interact with that scene. I just kind of came in and watched. They had a game night going on, and I'm looking at the tables. I'm like, that's GW terrain. Okay, sure. And I look at the armies, I'm like, you guys don't know what you're doing. Like, that's fine. They're just casual guys. But if there is more of a competitive scene in the South here that I don't know about yet, please feel free to DM me and let me know where I should be going and who I should be talking to. Especially if someone wants to. If you live out here and you want to throw down, and you have an army I can borrow. I'd be happy to hit you up. But yeah. It's been a good time. And then Pius, who I know was with us at least earlier, last question here asks, and now my computer, come on, you can do it. There we go. Pius asks, what do you think about alternative world leaders lists, i.e. 30 Terminators, MSU, Khorne Lord of Skulls? We heard plenty about 30 Terminators with or without Angron earlier, Lucas, but what do you think about proper MSU and about the Khorne Lord of Skulls?
I mean, everything's a trade-off, right? If you take the 30 Terminators, you've got 0 units. If you take the MSU, you sacrifice punching power. If you take the Khorne Lord of Skulls, you get to fucking laugh your ass off, that's for sure. But you probably want him with Angron, and then your army doesn't really do that much on turn 1, and you have 0 units, right? Like, it's a bunch of trade-offs. I think if you're playing on GW terrain and you're expecting a lot of melee armies, I think the Khorne Lord of Skulls is actually really good, especially elite melee armies, because it just like absolutely gat blasts them. It kind of honestly probably helps into a lot of your problematic matchups like Dark Angels and Death Guard, because you just get to like can shoot the hell out of them on the way in, which is pretty funny. And those armies are really slow, so you can definitely like that was a funny sound. You can just blast them for multiple turns on the way, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, I think some combination of I'm still trying to determine if the Terminators are worth it, but some combination of Terminators and MSU 8-pound is probably the way to go, because you really need the speed from the 8-pound, and in my opinion, you also kind of need the durability from the Terminators, because the 8-pound die way too quickly.
Fascinating that both of y'all are pretty down on your respective anti-melee fight first units. You don't seem to have much love for the Moe and the Zerks. And then Nick's not a fan of the Judy and the Inner Circle. I'm curious what your meta's like up there that's forcing that.
There's
See
just
how they
not
do
a
it.
lot of-
I actually think the local meta is like they are pretty good in our local meta.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
until you hit like the Guard and the Sisters. The hard part is like you do
Yes.
have to beat the Guard and the Sisters to win the tournament, and like some of the better players up here are playing those factions.
But you also might have to play against the Death Guard Drooler who kills you with,
Yeah, or like one of
Death Guard
17
Terminators.
space
You literally
players
cannot beat
lurking in the
while
woods
playing orcs.
Yeah, so it's a trade-off.
Very cool. All right. Well, that's the end of our listener questions. If you'd like to ask your own listener questions, you can always do that live via Super Chat and then also in our Discord, which is accessible at patreon.com/statcheck. Check the links in the description for that. If you'd like to keep the conversation going, we'll be in the comments and we'll also be in that Discord. But if you're looking for something a little bit more intensive, check out stat-check.com/coaching. We've got a new thing going up soon there. I don't know if it's been refreshed yet, but it will be soon. If you're interested in getting some more one-on-one help from any of us or any of the other hosts over in the Stat Check world, and a couple of new special guests that are joining us shortly, some very high-tier content coming in soon from them in the coaching world. Absolutely not. In addition to that, you should check out some of our sponsors down in the description below, such as Red Dragon Games, if you're up in the northeastern United States or the nearby portions of Canada. They provide a lot of sponsorship, both for StatCheck and for Team USA. So we really love and appreciate them. If you were interested in any of our merch, we got a link in the description for that. And then our other sponsors, in addition to Red Dragon, Saltire Games produces some really great widgets over on their Etsy shop. You can get WTC Terrain from Wayland Yutani, the official one of the official producers and the official producer used at WTC. Use code StatCheck5 for 5% off. If you're looking for GW-style U.S. Open terrain or some of those famous 963 wooden magnetic measuring tools, check out J15 Games, also on Etsy, also linked in the description, with 10% off with code StatCheck at checkout to tell them that you came from here. We're looking forward to seeing the rest of the World Championships here, and we'll hopefully have a breakdown on some recent tournaments coming up soon, assuming that Lucas can do decently well at the upcoming Guardian Gobbler. It's a very sick Karn you got there, Lucas. Anything else you guys want to point out or throw flowers to before we sign off for the week?
I think I'm good.
I just farted.
Good stuff. With that all being said and done, thank you so much for joining us. I've been Tyler.
I've been Nick.
I'm Lucas Choller.
Whoops, did that wrong. We're going to try again.
Yeah,
Fix that in post. Hey, we did it. And we will see you all next time on Take All Comers. Talking about some other nonsense as we get into this holiday season. Got some big tournaments coming up, tournament reviews in the making. Look forward to that.